guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to have a little discussion with you guys. The reason I wanted to have this discussion now is because, first of all, it's Nonfiction November, so I feel like this discussion is perfect for this month. And also because I recently read a book back in October that just sort of sparked this whole thought process in my mind. And it's something that I have seen before and I'm sure I will see again, but it's something I just kind of wanted to talk about with you guys. And it has to do with memoirs in nonfiction. And as you guys know, if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I enjoy nonfiction, particularly memoirs that are told by people that have had, have had to face a lot of challenges or adversity, and I just find those stories to be very interesting and very inspiring, and so I like to read them. Occasionally though, these types of books, these types of memoirs do get challenged, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So the book that sparked this whole thing for me was Running with Scissors by Augusten Burroughs. This book was published back in 2003. It was a bestseller, really popular. It was made into a movie. And it basically deals with Augusten Burroughs, which that isn't his real name, but anyways, his time living in this psychiatrist's house because his parents had gone through a nasty divorce. His mother was going through some mental issues of her own, and she sort of had him go live with the psychiatrist that she had been seeing and his family. And they were pretty quirky, to say the least. And so the book is about his time living in this house with this family. He's like a teenager during those years. And the book contained a lot of shocking sort of details and information about this family, though he did change their names. There was a lot of stuff in there, just things that made the family look bad. According to him, the house was really dilapidated and dirty. The people were basically filthy. There was like child rape basically going on between one of the children and this former patient. And then Augusten himself had a very inappropriate relationship with an older man who I think was also a former patient of this doctor's. And so a lot of the stuff in the book is just extremely shocking and bizarre. And what kind of got me going was I was reading this book and I got to the part where they mentioned the one daughter and this sexual relationship that she was having with this 40-year-old. She was like 13 at the time. And it seemed like her whole family knew about it. And I thought, how can they possibly think that's okay? This is crazy. And so I Googled the book, and that's when I found out that 2 years after the book was published, this family came forward and they sued Augusten Burroughs for libel. And they sued him for libel and invasion of privacy because of some of the details he revealed. They said were not even true. He had completely made them up. They had no idea that the book was being written or published. They didn't find out about it until it was already out and was a bestseller, and then they sat down to read it and they were like, what the heck is this? So they were very hurt by it, disturbed by it, because they had felt that they were helping Augusten during that time period that he was living there. So they were very hurt, and also they were very concerned because it was pretty easy to figure out, even though he changed the names, it was pretty easy to figure out who this family was, because their father, who was the psychiatrist, the doctor, he was pretty well known in that area of town, and he didn't change where the memoir took place. And the psychiatrist was kind of known, and he did have a bit of a reputation. He had lost his license to practice in the 80s for some bad behavior or whatever. So they were very upset about that though, because they thought it's very easy for people to figure out who we are, and then a lot of this stuff isn't true, and they were just very, very distraught over it. They went to court, I believe, and they settled. So obviously, we don't know the details, but it kind of just comes back around to, so I read this article, then I pick the book back up and continue to read, and the entire rest of the book, I'm questioning everything, did this really happen or not? Because Augusten Burroughs, on the other side, says that he has diaries or journals from that time period that back up his story. though there seems to be like nobody else who will 100% corroborate everything that happened. So it's like, who's right? I don't know. So my thing is with reading these types of books, this obviously has happened since then and will continue to happen. We saw it happen with James Fry's book, A Million Little Pieces, which caused a huge controversy. I've never actually read it because of the controversy, but it basically centers around him and his addiction, and he completely fabricated things about his criminal record and his time in jail, just completely made it up to make the story better. People found out, he got in big trouble, and yeah, it kind of like messed up his career. And then of course we've seen it recently in 2018 with Tara Westover's memoir Educated, which I read and absolutely loved and is a 5-star book to me. But that one has also come into question because it talks about, again, this woman who had a rough childhood and has since fallen out of touch with her family, and that's who the book is about. And her family, of course, says that a lot of the stuff in the book was over-exaggerated or didn't happen, or they don't remember it being that way. So the thing is, with these types of memoirs, I think you're going to run into that with these types of books where there is abuse, there is, you know, hardships, and of course, when you end up having no contact with your family anymore or the people involved, there's already kind of animosity there. So then it's like, okay, are they upset because this person's telling the truth and kind of outing them? Or are they upset because it's lies? Nobody will ever know, right? But it does, as a reader, it is a little bit frustrating because for me, like when I read Educated, I believed everything that Tara said in her memoir. I really do feel that her family gaslighted her because she came out and told them, hey, my brother, one of her older brothers was physically abusive to her. And when she tried to tell her family about it, they basically treated her like she was nuts and wouldn't do anything about it. Well, of course, that's gonna cause an issue, and you're gonna have that, like I said, that kind of animosity. It does make you, as a person that loves to read memoirs, really question what you're reading. And I think it's just kind of upsetting because when I pick up a nonfiction book, whether it's a memoir or not, I am expecting and have that expectation that what I'm reading is true. And I know that memoirs can get a little murky because a lot of it is that person's memories, digging deep into memories, and obviously trying to make them almost literary in the sense that they're trying to write them on the page and make them jump off the page, and so that they're engaging to people and things like that. And I get that, but then it's like, do you have to? It's not okay. It's still not okay to embellish things just to sell a book. And the thing about memoirs too is there isn't a whole lot of accountability that you can do because, again, you're dealing with someone's recollection of their own life. And as we know, this is true, I believe, that people do remember things differently, especially when you get down to details or you go into childhood memories. I know I have memories of childhood that I remember that my brother, who was there, is like, I don't remember that. It's true, you know, it happens, or they remembered the details differently. So I understand that that happens. But when you're writing a book, is there a responsibility there to fact check, even though they're your own recollections and it's your own life? Or do you need to let those people know that you're going to be writing a book about them? Because in the case of Running with Scissors, that family had no idea that he was writing this book until literally it was on the bestseller list and they picked it up and read it. Can you imagine the devastation there, that somebody writes such a personal thing about your family? You know, so is there an obligation there? I don't know. Would a lot of these types of books be written if that sort of thing had to be done? Probably not, because who wants to have somebody write a book about them where they're painted in a negative light? But I also think that these types of books need to be written because I feel like they do help people. I feel like they help people to understand that lots of people live very different lives than what you live, and it helps you see the world better. And more importantly, I think it helps people that have had similar lives, say have been abused by a sibling or have had their parents go through a horrible divorce where you're caught in the middle and you're just kind of stuck. Those sorts of things addiction and all those sorts of things, I think those types of memoirs are so helpful to people and can be very therapeutic. So I think they're important to be written. But I think it's also important that we try to stick to the facts and that we don't embellish things just to sell the book. The thing about like nonfiction books is when you go to the back of a nonfiction book, almost every nonfiction book is going to have pages and pages of notes and things like that, because the author, again, wants to make sure that the reader knows that the things that they're reading are authentic. They have proof, they have, you know, footnotes and all these other things. They've conducted interviews and done all of this stuff. And I know they can't really do that with memoirs, but should they? Should memoirs be held to the same standard as a regular nonfiction book in terms of fact checking? I kind of just wanted to talk about it because as a reader, it does kind of bother me that there are times when I read nonfiction books, well, specifically memoirs, where you then find out that the story has been contested in some way. It just kind of ruins the whole thing. Like that's what happened to me with Burning with Scissors. I was enjoying it very much until I realized that there's a pretty good chance that some of this stuff is not true. So what do you guys think? Have you ever run into this? Have any of you guys read Running with Scissors? What did you guys think about that? Or Educated, or A Million Little Pieces? Again, A Million Little Pieces. After hearing about that controversy, I was like, well, I'm not reading that book at all. I'm just not gonna read it. I don't care how well written it is or whatever. It's full of lies. You know what I mean? So I want everybody to talk about it. Have you read a book like that where you then found out that stuff wasn't true? Or do you think that memoirs should maybe be categorized differently than other nonfiction books? Do they have to play by the same rules? What kind of rules should they play by? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about memoirs. Down below in the comments, let me know. I know this is a little bit rambly, but it was on my mind and I wanted to talk about it. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking about lately. So yeah, feel free to talk below. I can't wait to engage with you guys. And yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you're taking part in Nonfiction November, I hope you are enjoying yourself. And I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.